Welcome back to Hometown TCG, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John.
And I'm Josh, and we are back with the final installment of this section of our How to Beat series. And before we get into who we're talking about today, we want to thank you all one last time for that live stream, guys. It was sick.
Man, so much fun, so much support you were all giving. We loved it. We loved the energy on there. And thank you to all our patrons that have supported us from there as well. So let's get right into it. We are talking about Bravo today.
All right, so we want to beat Bravo. We want to take this Guardian down. And to do that, we want to know what Bravo is trying to do against us. And Bravo's got a couple specifics he's really trying to do in these games. The first thing is he's a great middle-of-the-road deck. He's like Reinhardt. He feels like in every matchup, he's always in the game.
Yeah, he does a lot of things well, and one of them is just his weapon. It's just so consistent. Every turn, he can always put out 4 damage with 1 card or 6 damage with 2 cards.
Yes, he's a very consistent deck. He swings this consistent weapon. He kind of wants to do the same thing over and over again. However, another thing he does well is he's capable of these large explosive turns out of nowhere.
Yeah, so his big attacks, Crippling Crush being the obvious one.
Yes, Righteous Cleansing being another option.
Yeah, so those are normally his 2 big options. He has some other ones as well that can be threatening, but they have amazing crush effects on them, and they can really swing a game on that turn.
Absolutely. And to kind of counteract that, he wants to defend against similar strategies. He wants to defend against these go tall and go tall strategies, these go tall decks. He wants to block that kind of deck. So he does that very, very well. He's got a couple more nuances. He does have a lot of life gain that can be baked in the deck, and he plays the fatigue in the long game very well.
Oh, yeah, because he's pitching so much that he's never really losing his cards. So he has that. And armor. We didn't even talk about that.
He does. He has great armor for blocking guys. So he's got a lot of strengths, right? Bravo's a strong character. He's in every game. But he does have some weaknesses. You just have to know what they are to exploit them.
So going wide against him can leave him susceptible to damage. Being able to chip him with like those 4 damage attacks can really get to him.
Absolutely. 4 damage attacks are very valuable because most of his defense reactions are going to block for more than 4, so it's inefficient to block a 4 damage attack. And his attack action cards and all the rest of his cards in his deck are going to block for 3. So you're going to get in some kind of damage. Going along with that, some hit effects on stuff like that can make him make some tough choices. As well as on offense, there's not a lot of variety to him. You know what Bravo wants to do. You know if he's taking damage, he's probably going to crippling crush you, right? If he's choosing not to block, he's going to dominate a crippling crush. And if he's blocking, you know he's probably coming across with that hammer.
Yeah, it's going to be the same thing turn in and turn out, so predictable.
Yes.
Also, his DPC is just not that great.
True.
He can't, like, even Crippling Crush, a lot of times it takes 4 cards for 11 damage, which is less than 3 per card, which is not that great.
Exactly. The real impact comes from that crush effect, right? It comes from the couple of pummels in his deck. So the DPC is not great. And to go along with that, newer Bravo players, or maybe Bravo players that aren't as seasoned, are susceptible to falling into traps when they net deck a Bravo deck and using a lot of these blue attacks, right? Which we talked about in our Bravo deck, you do not want to do. That's a trap. They're in there to turn on your tectonic plating and to use hammer. That's why they're in the deck.
Right. Okay, and then going along with that not great DPC is that he doesn't race people well.
Yes.
He can have a couple turns that are massive and they're great, but if you start to become the aggressive player just from the momentum of the game, you're probably not going to be able to keep it up as the Bravo player.
Absolutely. Bravo does not want to race. So these are some things that he doesn't do well, and because we know those things, we can take away or take advantage of him, and we already talked about a major way. It's those 4 damage attacks chipping away, right?
Yeah, so the reason we don't have him as one of our tier 1 decks is that Ira just can...
Oh, Ira can
it's just a bad matchup.
Yes, Ira's such a bad matchup.
You have the Kadachis, which are just little dinks, and then you have these efficient 4 or 5 damage attacks that can just push through a little bit over the edge, and you're just getting more value on him every turn.
Absolutely, and then to couple with that, there are hit effects on a lot of those attacks, which hit effects on not go tall attacks cost him a little more to defend against, right? So a Bravo player doesn't like to see those. So chipping away with those 4 damage attacks, getting those quality hit effects, can definitely put a Bravo player and keep them on the back foot. And that's kind of a strategy we've talked about recently. It's called calculated aggression, right? When are we using these cards? What are we trying to do to our opponent? Are we trying to force our opponent into tough choices? So calculated aggression is a good way to keep any kind of big turn control deck on the back foot.
That's right. When he wants to wait to use those big crush effects for when you have an off turn. So you have to make sure that you're able to consistently put it out. But then also when he's like blocking out, if he's just able to consistently block you out and you're not pushing through anything, you're going to lose to fatigue in the end because you're just going to run out of threats and they're going to beat you because you don't have any cards left.
Absolutely. So kind of feeling out the early turn, realizing when he doesn't want to block, that's when he might have that crippling crush, and then using that arsenal aggression, that arsenal gas that you have to either push through a lot of damage or force him into a tough choice. That's that calculated aggression we're talking about. And that just means you have to put out more damage than you're taking from this hammer. You can't let him block out and just take 6 from his hammer every turn.
Yeah, eventually, if you're Dorinthia, maybe you do it for a couple turns, but at some point you have to start blocking, and that's when you lose. You lose the game if you don't turn that corner. So you don't want to get in that position.
Absolutely. If you don't identify that and know that you can't just keep taking this damage, that's just a game loss. So you must put out more damage than you're taking. And the big one is something you brought up when we were talking about this episode. And I want you to tell the people what you see is like the biggest thing you don't do.
Yeah, so if you're just learning to play against Bravo, you may be tempted to use some of your armor against the hammer at times just to keep your life total high. But you have to save your armor for those big crush effects, for that crippling crush that we keep talking about. You have to save your armor for that. You have to know that you have to block 8 on that turn.
You must block 8, and if you can, on the turn before the crush effect, on the turn before the crippling crush, you can put some damage, because he's trying to hold these cards. You can push through some damage on that turn. You can soak the crippling crush without a crush effect, and then push through some more damage. You're in a great spot. That is a great way to gain tempo against a Bravo player.
If you're able to make it so their crippling crush doesn't hit the crush effect and you don't discard cards, you probably win.
You probably win. That is absolutely true, and that goes along with the last 2 points. You definitely want to avoid that long game, right? Because in that long game, he will be more consistent than you. If he's hit you with a crush or 2 and drags you out of that deep into the long game, you're not in a good spot. And finally, to defend against those crush attacks, it's a simple thing, but it's important, is the defense reaction to that arsenal.
Yeah, prioritize that. Get that into your arsenal early so you're ready to go. And kind of play with maybe a 4-card hand if you have to for a few turns until they really go for it.
Exactly. So following the turn prior to a crush effect and the turn immediately following are important turns in the game, guys. If you're ready for them, if you know that this is what Bravo's trying to do, if you can start to sense it, you can start to feel it, and you can play around that, you're going to take home some wins against the Guardian.
That's right. So, give it a try. Let us know how you do against Bravo. We love to hear the feedback because we do hear great things. It makes us so happy. So
yes,
continue to do that. We hope you see great success for this. We've had a fun time here. And until next time, my name is John.
And I'm Josh.
And we'll see ya.